This is 1017 CHLY.
Welcome to Wellness Wednesday and the Chronic Wellness Radio Show. I'm your host, Sandra Sova, live in the studios here today at CHLY, and I'm so happy to be spending the next hour with you. This show is called Chronic Wellness, and chronic by definition is ongoing and constantly reoccurring. Isn't ongoing wellness something that we all desire? It is my goal to bring you ideas, techniques, interviews, and inspiration to do just that. Give you the tools you need to live an empowered, thriving life. Whether we are young or old or somewhere in between, our health sets the barometer for our life. Protecting and maintaining health is one thing, but what about if you've had a health setback or you've been through a health crisis? What are some of the things you can do to bounce back? You know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as a survivor, I wanted to show my support and my solidarity to others whose lives have been touched in some way by cancer. I felt the best way to do that was to talk about one of the areas that I know best, and that has been so instrumental to me in reclaiming my wellness and vitality. This is Chronic Wellness. Let's get started. So welcome, everyone. Welcome today. Today we're going to be talking about supporting our bodies, minds, and souls throughout challenging times. While my guest and I have personal experiences with cancer, what we are talking about today is not only cancer specific, and it can be applied to any situation where support is needed. When recovering from a challenging experience, or even including things like going through significant change or loss. However, if you or someone you know has been touched by cancer and is struggling, I hope you will find this episode helpful. All right, joining me now is Colleen Strong. Colleen is a passionate educator on wellness and essential oils, and she leads and mentors a team of essential oil educators such as myself, and is a diamond leader with doTERRA. Welcome to the show, Colleen. I've wanted to have you on for such a long time. I am so glad we are finally making this happen. You know, Colleen and I have a lot of things in common, and one of those is that we've both gone through our own individual journeys with breast cancer. Through this, we've not only developed a friendship, but we are business partners as well, teaching, inspiring, and leading others to be more empowered and in control when it comes to their wellness. So, our association, our friendship began when we were both members of the same private breast cancer support group on Facebook. But at that time, we didn't interact with each other. But one day, I saw Colleen post that she was in Vancouver and was going to be doing an essential oil class on Facebook. And at the time, I'd known I was interested in essential oils to support my wellness. But, you know, like so many others, I really wasn't sure to start. So, Colleen, I am so grateful that I noticed your post that day, because that truly is what helped bring about my wellness journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful as well, Sandra. I get to interact with the most amazing people in my life and in my business, and that's something that I don't take for granted. The oils were fundamental in me getting my life back during cancer treatment and after cancer treatment. And coming from a background of traditional medicine, I was a laboratory technologist, and kind of ironically, my job was to look at cells under a microscope and diagnose cancer. And I ended up becoming the manager of pathology in a large teaching hospital and spent many, many years in traditional medicine. And I have a great love and respect for traditional medicine. But my mind was kind of open to non-traditional medicine during my cancer journey. I I kind of reached a point where I needed help that modern medicine couldn't give me. And so I started investigating and being open to other options. And that never would have happened if I hadn't been diagnosed. So, I think we'll probably talk quite a bit during this time about the gifts that cancer has given both of us. And there may be people listening who think that sounds crazy, but it's my experience. And I had a very close dear friend who passed away from breast cancer. And she said to me once, and it just really stuck with me, that cancer is a gift wrapped in barbed wire.
Oh my goodness.
And it's so true that there's obviously a lot of pain that comes with this journey, but there's also a lot of gifts that come with it. And for me, finding essential oils was one of those gifts. And it's a huge tool now in my everyday health and my physical health and my emotional health. And I've already used probably 4 oils today, and it's my day is half done. So I have gratitude for that. And if I hadn't got sick, I wouldn't have a lot of things in my life that I consider, jewels in my life, and that all kind of came about because of this journey.
Absolutely. And I know I have the same experience as well, and have many times referred to that in a strange way, that getting my cancer diagnosis was, like you said, it was a gift. It was a blessing, because that was for the very first time that I finally decided it was important to pay attention to self-care and to what I was putting in and on my body and all of those things. So you mentioned, so I love the fact that you've come from, a traditional medicine background and a science background. So you were quite skeptical, but you were open-minded enough to go. Once you had these oils in your house, what did you start finding that you could do with them? How did they help you initially, specifically with what you were going through from post-cancer treatment?
Yeah, so I actually wouldn't say I was open to them. I was desperate.
Okay.
I was desperate for help, and so I went into learning about them with a lot of skepticism, and what's really kind of funny is that the way that essential oils work is science, and I know that now. It's chemistry. It's plant chemistry, and it's our body chemistry, but it felt very, like witchy and voodoo to me. But I was desperate enough that I was willing to try anything at that point. And so, just to be clear, I don't think I was open then. I'm completely open now because, I understand the chemistry and I understand how the oils work in my body. And that makes sense to my mind, the way that my mind works. But I initially started using essential oils for physical support. So I started about halfway in. I ended up having a double mastectomy, an immediate reconstruction, and then everything went wrong. I kind of laughingly referred to myself as the 3% girl, because if there was a 3% chance of a complication happening, it happened to me. And so I ended up with about 2.5 years of surgery. I had an open wound for about a year, and then it took, a long time to actually close it, and then to get to a point where I could have a second stab at reconstruction. So it was about 2.5 years of surgeries, and I came into the oils about a year into that process. And so I had a year and a half of experimenting and learning what I could use to support myself between surgeries in terms of, keeping my immunity up and building up my health and my stamina, as well as the whole process of surgery. So, towards the end, I had a whole protocol that I had developed. I used the oils the night before to get a good night's sleep. I used them in pre-op to calm my body down and help the IV insertion go much smoother. I used it for mindset work and going into the OR in a really great frame of mind with no fear. And then afterwards, detoxing and getting all the anesthetic and all the anti-nausea medication and everything that had been pumped through me while I was on the OR table out of my body. And again, just kind of, building my health and protecting my immunity. So, I did a lot of playing around with different oils and really learning what worked for my body. And I mean, my experience in the beginning till the end, when I had kind of the protocol nailed down for the last 3 or 4 surgeries, was night and day. I mean, yes, I was going into surgery, and yes, there's some anxiety around that, but it was so minimal, and my experience was so good. And in fact, I mean, I even the last 2 surgeries used oils instead of narcotics for pain management. And my plastic surgeons were very concerned that I was not wanting to take a prescription for a morphine derivative. Mm-hmm. And I assured them that I didn't need it, but they made me take it. I didn't fill it. I was able to find an oil combination that gave me the pain relief without all the side effects of the morphine. And it was just such a better experience. Completely 360 degrees different.
That's so amazing and so inspiring. And I also think so encouraging because, going through multiple surgeries or anything like that, I mean, that just really, it knocks you down in so many ways. Being able to reach for something that's more natural, not only, you're describing that your experience through that is so much better, but also less of a toxic load by adding additional, other layers of medication. That is, that's amazing. I know that you and I have one product that we love, and that I know you have a good story for as well, and that's a product called Deep Blue Rub. It's something that I use daily for my joint pain. Did you find you were using that after your surgeries as well, weren't you?
Yeah. So part of my second reconstruction was that I had to have an implant placed, and to do that, I had an expander placed under my chest muscle. And what happens is over time you go in and it's like a balloon, and when they put it in, it's empty, and you go in and then they inject fluid into it to pump it up, and that stretches your muscle out and makes a pocket for them to be able to place an implant in. Well, by the end of that process, I mean, you can imagine your chest muscle is stretching. It's painful. And what I found was it wasn't just my chest, but it would be my shoulder and down my back, because really my whole chest wall was being stretched at that point. And I simply couldn't sleep. I mean, I was in so much discomfort that I really struggled with, especially at bedtime when I didn't have anything to distract me. And I used Deep Blue Rub. My husband would rub it on at bedtime, and I would get a good 6 hours straight of sleep, because it not only relieved my pain, but it relieved it long term, so that it didn't just give me like a half hour or an hour of relief. And in fact, to this day, when I smell Deep Blue Rub, I have kind of like a Pavlovian response where my shoulders sink and I breathe out, and I have this feeling that it's all going to be okay. And that blend, because it was relief to me over such a long period of time, and it was habitual every night that I would use it so that I could sleep. So
yeah, I love that.
That is definitely one of my hero products. And another hero product I have is Lifelong Vitality, which is a supplement system. And that product was really what kind of flipped the switch for me to decide that I wanted to share these products as a business, because I was at a point, I was so physically drawn, like I really didn't have time to recuperate between surgeries. I never got back to any semblance of like normal health and vitality. And I started taking the supplements, and about 3 weeks in, my husband said to me, "What's different? Like, what are you doing? Because you are your old self. You're in the kitchen, you're cleaning, you're making crafts with the grandkids, you're going for walks." Like, and before, honestly, I was living on the couch. I would look and see things that I wanted to do, and I simply didn't have the energy to do them. And I actually hadn't even noticed, because when you feel good, you don't notice that you feel good. And it had been a gradual improvement over the 3 weeks of taking the supplement system. And he said that, and I kind of stopped and went, you know what, you are right. Like, what is different? Like, I don't stop and think about doing things now. I just do them. And the only thing that had changed was that I had started taking the Lifelong Vitality supplements. And so, I mean, to me, that's a real hero product, because I just believe that product gave me my life back. It was passing me by, and I was able to get up and join back in the parade at that point.
That is so powerful and so inspiring. And, it's these sort of things, like, you got to love what we do, right? Because we want everyone to be able to experience relief and to have more energy and to feel vibrant again, or maybe for the very first time. And these oils have the ability to do that. But before we get a little bit further on in the conversation, I want us to back up just a little bit, because part of our role as essential oil educators is that we take safety and education very seriously. And it's important for people to understand that what we're talking about today is very specifically related to certified pure therapeutic grade essential oils, which are very different from oils that you can pick up off the grocery store or drugstore shelf. We are talking about oils that we use to support the health of ourselves and for our families, all ages. So, I've said it before on the show, the essential oil industry is not regulated. And when you see essential oils, I'm doing air quotes here, we see them everywhere. And so, Colleen, what do people need to know? What makes doTERRA different? And what should someone be looking out to be able to spot fake oils?
Oh, this is just, to be honest, it's a subject that gets me riled, because people are hearing that, essential oils are good for you and they can help. And then they buy a $5 frankincense off the shelf at Walmart, and it doesn't work because it isn't frankincense at all. There's no frankincense in there. And then they think, well, essential oils don't work. And that hurts me, because they do work, and I want people to have access to these amazing tools. But, let's be honest, you get what you pay for, right? And what doTERRA does is their commitment to quality is second to none. They're the largest essential oil company in the world. They're the most tested and the most trusted. And the oils are tested from the field to all the way to the customer. So their commitment is second to none. They actually work with farmers across the globe where the plants grow best, and they teach those farmers how to grow organically. They support the farming communities if they need help setting up the farms and cooperatives, equipment distillation, all of that. They work with the farmers, and they know that the freshest, most healthiest plants grown in optimal conditions are what's going to produce the best quality essential oil. And when we're using these oils for medicine, and I use my oils for medicine. I don't have a medicine cabinet anymore. I have an oil cabinet. And it's important to me that I get the results that I need, and I know that will happen because of the quality of the oils. So they're beyond organic. There's no pesticides. They're grown and distilled on site. The oils are tested repeatedly throughout the process, and the testing results are shared with the public so that you can be assured that what we say is in the bottle is in the bottle. That's the thing. Because there are no labeling laws, companies can put 100% pure essential oil on it, and it could be mostly olive oil and a little bit of very low quality essential oil. 100% essential oil doesn't mean anything if it's not good quality essential oil. And so you really have to align with a company that you can trust. And the only way you know you can trust is to have access to the testing and to see that they have nothing to hide. And, we're the only company who does that, who share our testing results, because we believe in transparency, and we believe in transparency because we are proud of our product and we have nothing to hide. And we want people to have the peace of mind that when they spend money, that they're getting what they paid for.
Absolutely. And it goes to also along with the purity is the potency of these oils, because we're talking about 100% pure, high quality plant essence. And when you're using oils of this quality, honestly, 1 or 2 drops at any time is all you need for any given application. And the other thing that I love about this is it's why, and part of the reason that doTERRA has established the way that these oils are sold is through relationship and network marketing, so that individuals like you and I have the chance to educate people, to make sure they understand the safety issues, make sure they understand how to use the oils and how to get a result that they're looking for. It is so important because, like you said, Colleen, these are medicinal products. They're so much more than just pretty smells, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think even though essential oils are natural, they're also very powerful. And there are certain oils that if you put them on your skin and you go in the sun, you will accelerate a sunburn. And there are other oils that are considered hot, and if you put them on your skin without diluting them in some type of a carrier oil like coconut or olive oil, or some type of oil that dilutes it down, we would burn your skin. So that's another reason why you don't just want to go to the health food store and grab an oil. Like, how are you going to know how to use that? How are you going to know what the safety considerations for that oil are? What's the best way? Because there are 3 different ways that we can use oils. We can breathe them in, we can put them on our skin, and with doTERRA, because of the purity, we can actually take them into our body. You can't do that with other oils. They're simply not pure enough. So you need to know what's the best way to use that oil for your particular issue.
For sure.
And the way we do that is connecting, right? It's you and I. That's our gift to the world, is we get to teach people how to solve their physical and emotional issues using oils, and giving them options and telling them, this is how you should use it. So that's a very critical piece that is missing from other companies. And, to assume that the consumer is going to find that education and get their questions answered. I mean, the person in the health food store doesn't know anything about how to use essential oils. They are not going to be able to help you. And, I don't know about you, but I don't have time to educate myself on every product. I want an expert to be able to advise me. And, doTERRA chose that model very, very intentionally for that reason.
Exactly. And you mentioned that they're the largest essential oil company in the world, but really at the core, we're a wellness company. And health and wellness and the research and the ongoing support and education. One of the things that I loved about being on your team, Colleen, is that you hook us up to all the resources, all the stuff. I am an educator and I'm well versed on essential oils, but I am not an expert. I'm not going to sit in front of someone and they're going to tell me their health concern. I'm going to say, oh yeah, this, that, and the other thing. There's specific areas where I personally know inside and out because they're issues that I deal with. But when I come across something that I'm not as familiar with, I go to the quality resources so that I can give that information, because what it's about helping. It's not about selling a bottle of oil. It's about helping that person gain back their health. And so the education piece, it's so important.
It is, and there's so many different avenues. I mean, there are books we can recommend, there are Facebook groups, there are Instagram accounts, there are websites. I mean, the doTERRA website has a ton of information for consumers. And yeah, I mean, we're not physicians, we're not doctors, we don't diagnose and treat. What we do is connect people with the appropriate resources for them. But we all do have our own personal experiences, and we can absolutely share those and say, this is what I use, this is what works for me, here are some recommendations. But the idea is really to empower people to take control of their health and their family's health. It's really about putting a physician in every home and letting the moms know where to find information to support their husbands and their children and themselves. Not to say that we're cutting out traditional medicine, because I completely believe, and it's my experience, that traditional medicine and essential oils complement each other, and there's a synergy that happens that's greater than either one of them when you can find the right blend of traditional and aromatherapy and essential oils. It's a magical thing. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that we're saying substitute.
No.
That modern medicine doesn't have its place, because it absolutely does.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of things that we can take care of in our own homes that we don't need to go to the drugstore for, that we don't need to go to, the family physician for. And we save that time in those visits for when it's really necessary.
Absolutely. I like to sort of think of it as that when you need to go and see a medical professional, that's when there's something, you have a disease process or you're trying to figure something out. But for the lifestyle things that we finding natural solutions for those is what really gets me excited. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my own experience with how powerful the oils have been with regards to the category of stress and anxious feelings, because this is stress and overwhelm, and all of that they affect each and every one of us, regardless of if we're going through a health journey. But it can be a real issue for many times during a cancer journey. And in fact, reports show that after treatment ends is when some people have the most difficult time with their emotional wellness. And here, essential oils can play such a pivotal role. This is largely the transition of when treatment stops. And we've talked about this in some of the other groups that I'm in, that when you are going through treatment and going through surgeries, we're in warrior mode. We have busy schedules, appointments of all kinds, treatments, surgeries, and we require recovery phases in between, and it can be pretty fast-paced. Then, when the treatment's over, we're not only depleted physically and emotionally, but the dozens or so individuals that have made up our support team of medical professionals are no longer constantly in the picture. And that as well can be very isolating. And the fact is that for many, after going through cancer, sometimes life as you know it may be changed permanently in some way. And that has a big impact. I wanted to share with everyone a bit of a personal story for me and oils and one of my hero products. And dialing back to 2013, when I started chemotherapy, right off the bat, it was a difficult time. I'll spare everyone any descriptions of the immediate side effects, other than to say I was hit pretty hard. But there was also the fact that, Colleen mentioned veins for IVs. I am notorious for being a difficult customer in that area. And by about the third round of chemo, I started to experience some super, super anxious feelings, which I later found out were verging on panic attacks. And I would get these prior to the start of each session. I would just get so worked up. I would be in tears. My body was as tight as a rock. And what was offered to me at the chemo center was Ativan. And I was grateful because it helped me get through a very challenging time. Here's the thing, though. After treatment, like we touched on, the emotional roller coaster continues, sometimes even more so due to drastic hormonal changes, for example. So I would continue to reach for my Ativan if stress would get bad. Then it became a prescription that I would fill every 3 months because, well, I never wanted to be without them, just in case. What ended up happening was that I became reliant on them, not dependent for everyday life, but it became my go-to approach for when things got stressful, which unfortunately at that time, my stress levels were rising and rising. And this is the exact reason why I started with doTERRA. I was really, I was uncomfortable using that type of medication and I was frustrated. It had become the way I was coping with stress, and I wanted a better way. And it was even more frustrating that when I went to my doctor and expressed the concerns, the solution from conventional medicine was for me to consider going on antidepressants. Well, I wasn't depressed, and it's when I started doing my research, digging in, and then Colleen's opportunity of hey, learn about oils came up, and that's what started it all. And we're going to get into this a little bit more, but I want to say that I am not sharing this story to bring shame or scorn to either the medical profession or to anyone that has or is taking prescription medications to manage stress or mood. The struggle is real in every way. I get that, and I respect you. But just what we're offering up is that there is an alternate way to go. If you are looking at natural alternatives that actually work, it's a healthier solution. And it was, I found exactly what I needed when I needed it, and it was in alignment with my health goals. So that was it for me. I mean, the stress piece. I mean, these oils can help so much, right, Colleen?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, when I started with the oils, I was so focused on physical health that's really where all of my research and all of my usage came from. And I was a little late to the game on the emotional side, to be honest with you, and I kind of kicked myself for that. But it was my need for physical help was so strong that was kind of took priority. But I mean, I have PTSD myself, and I have family members who have PTSD. And my brother, my big brother's my big brother. I only have one big brother, and I love him dearly. And he has some pretty severe PTSD symptoms, and he was taking a pharmaceutical to help with that. And what happened was that I noticed his personality was changing, and he is the sweetest, most gentlest, most loving person you would ever want to meet. And he actually started to scare me. And I started to get concerned for his wife and for her safety being in the house with him. And I turned to my oils because I know that that's where I will find the help that I need. And I did some research, and I created a blend for him and for my other family members and for myself. And I used it, and it helped me a lot. And I gave it to him, and he was very skeptical and kind of put it on a shelf and said thank you. And I knew that he wasn't going to use it. And I'll be honest, I was pretty heartbroken because I knew that it would help him, but I also knew that he needed to make the decision to try it. My sister was visiting him, and she used the blend in front of him, and he could see kind of instantaneously how it brought her anxiety down. And he kind of said to her, like, well, what is that? And she said, oh, it's a blend Colleen gave me. And he's like, oh, you know what? I think she gave me something too. And I mean, this was like 6 months later, and he went and took it down from the shelf and started using it. And he was actually able to wean off of the medication that he was taking, and he strictly uses oils now. And his personality is back, and he feels so much better. And he has some tools that are natural that give him control over that response. And I had an anxiety attack yesterday. You never know when they're going to come, and there are certain triggers, and I got triggered yesterday, and I had a full-blown anxiety attack, and I haven't had one in a really long time, but I literally ran for my oils, and using them, I can bring it from, like a 9 or a 10 down to a 2 or a 3 on the scale. And I can manage a 2 or a 3. A 9 or a 10 is extremely uncomfortable. Sometimes I have to actually leave my house because being inside of the house is not an option. I've walked out of the house in the middle of the winter in my pajamas. And obviously I don't want to be doing that. It's not a good coping mechanism. And so by using the oils, I am able to support my anxiety and bring it down to a manageable level and avoid pharmaceuticals. I realize that there are people who need pharmaceuticals, and gosh, if you need them, please use them. I would never want to tell anybody that they should not be taking medication if it's needed. But I do also just want to offer that the oils are a substitute for some people, and they can really change how you manage your mental health.
Absolutely. And what I like about them too is I tend to, we kind of know what sort of situations are going to trigger us or be more challenging. And so I've gotten in a habit of being really proactive with using the oils that I use for mental health assistance. My favorite one is a blend called Balance, and it's the one that I initially got, and it's still my number one. It's a grounding blend that it promotes tranquility and brings harmony to your mind and your body so that we can better balance our emotions. When I put a drop of this oil into my hand, rub my palms together, and take a couple of deep inhalations, within 20 seconds, I can feel myself being less agitated. I can feel myself being able to, and I always say that I'm able to switch into the mood that I want to have instead of a mood that I'm triggered to have. I refer to like a timeline of my life as BB and AB, before balance and after balance, because I used to be so more reactionary to things. So, we make up roller bottles. We do, you get some of your favorite oils and you put them in with some fractionated coconut oil, and you have your special blend, and you can anytime, anywhere, any place, at work, in the car while you're driving, when you're waiting at the doctor's office, before you go. It's just right. Like it's so easy.
It is. And you're right. Being prepared is key, and having that supportive oil with you is key. One of the things that I love about this too is for kids. I'm a grandparent. I wish I would have had these tools for my children when they were growing up. I wish I would have been able to empower them with a blend that, when they were preparing for an exam, that would help them to study better, that would clear their mind, that would help them to have a good night's sleep before the exam, that would support their energy levels. My grandkids are oil babies, and they don't think twice about grabbing a roller and rolling it on and supporting whatever they need physically or emotionally at that point in time. And it's such a gift. And I love that they have that, but gosh, I could have used it when I was raising my kids.
Yeah,
it
no
would have
doubt.
been so much easier.
Indeed. And so using essential oils for stress management and to ease anxiousness is, we're talking about this, and it's a wonderful way to support a patient or a person, seeing them as their entire whole being rather than just their ailment or disease. And, the more and more we are discovering and learning, and with the science and the research that's going on, pretty soon it may be as common that essential oils are used in clinical settings to be as normal as taking someone's temperature. I know that Colleen and I were so excited about something that's going on at the St. Elizabeth Oncology Center in the United States. Colleen, what's happening over there?
Yeah, I mean, there are actually a lot of physicians in the U.S. that are using oils in their practices. There's an orthopedic surgeon that I know that sends his patients home with oils to prep for surgery, to help them sleep, to be calm the day of surgery, and to help them with pain management afterwards. But what's happening at St. Elizabeth is super, super exciting for Sandra and I, because this is kind of near and dear to our heart. And what's happening is doTERRA's partnered with the new center, and it's an integrative health center. So they have all of the traditional medicine, oncology offerings, but they also have alternative health offerings. So they're doing things like acupuncture and Reiki, and essential oils are a huge part of that as well. So the patients can choose from a menu of options to support themselves, which, again, I wish I would have had that. I ended up creating that for myself, but it would have been so much easier if when I walked into the cancer clinic, I said, I'm having issues with anxiety, or I'm not sleeping, or I have fear that I need help to process. And they could have directed me to the aromatherapy center, and I could have got some support, along with all of my other treatments that was happening. So I think, we're seeing in the States that this integrative approach is really blossoming, and it's very, very exciting. And I think here in Canada, we're a little more cautious about those types of things. I believe that it will happen. I think we're maybe just a little bit farther behind. But there's tons and tons of research going on, and it's all showing how oils can supplement traditional medicine and can, replace some over-the-counter medications, and just make being proactive, raising our immunity, getting our nutrition better. I mean, even if you eat well, our food is not quality anymore. The way that it's farmed, the way that it's genetically modified, and the nutrition value has gone down and down and down. So getting proper nutrition is a challenge for people. And of course, nutrition is the building blocks of your health. If you can't get good nutrition, you need to supplement, and you need high quality supplements, and you need supplements that are made from real food and are bioavailable so that your body can be strong. All of those things are things that, we can help people with. And I think at some point that type of approach will happen here. For now, it's basically you and me that's going to be doing the work, and boots on the ground, and face-to-face and knee-to-knee with people, and helping them to really achieve the health level that they want to achieve, and guiding them in that. And I think that's an amazing opportunity to be able to help people and have an effect on people's health. I mean, from someone who had a health challenge and whose health was severely compromised, being able to make a difference for people, it's huge, because I know what that impact is. I had that impact for myself, and I know what it can do for people, and I want to give people that gift.
Absolutely. I also, I know you and I have talked about before how after going through a cancer experience and what our bodies have been through, we're wanting to nourish and replenish and reduce our exposure to some of the toxins that are known to be carcinogenic and all of those things. And that's another area where I just love using essential oils in my home, because you can reduce your exposure to chemicals, and that's fantastic for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have natural alternatives for absolutely every cleaning product that you could want, all made with things like vinegar and, baking soda and essential oils and water. And the cool thing is that they actually work as good or better as the things that you're buying at the grocery store that are loaded with chemicals. Because, I was skeptical. I'm like, I don't want a natural cleaner if it doesn't clean. That's not going to help, right? And I mean, when I first got started, everything that I tried, I was really surprised that, oh my gosh, like this works. It's so simple. It takes seconds. It costs pennies. And it's completely chemical free, and it works. Like it blew my mind every time.
Yeah, I know, and it's such a it's such a good feeling. One of the things that I wanted to touch on before we let everyone know how to connect and get in touch and ask more questions and expand their own education and knowledge, I wanted to touch on the subject of grief, because grief and grieving is another area where essential oils can be profoundly helpful. And when people are going through an experience with cancer for themselves or their loved ones, sometimes there is not always positive outcomes, and even during that, so there's challenging times. When we lose, cancer is notorious for taking away body parts and different things. So there's oils and grief. It's a fit, isn't it?
It is. And yeah, I mean, even if you have a positive outcome, you grieve for your innocence, before you realize that you were mortal and that, your time on this earth was limited. And, yeah, for sure. I mean, my body's very different from it was pre-mastectomy, and there was a grief in losing part of my femininity and losing part of my health, and the impact that my being sick had on my husband and my family. And there's a lot of guilt that comes with that, as well as grief. And I think that's one of the most powerful emotional benefits that I've seen and personally experienced myself with the oils, was kind of working through. We have an amazing blend called Forgive, and I used a lot of Forgive when I was, going through, because I blamed myself for getting sick. I blamed myself for the choices that I made, and I needed to forgive myself for that perceived mistake. Whether it was a mistake or not, it did cause an emotional reaction in me. And I've had, unfortunately, a couple of people in my life that have very close to me that have passed and from cancer, and being able to support them with the oils during their last week or 2 weeks of life in hospice was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. I mean, my stepdad a few years ago passed away from cancer, and because of my doTERRA business, I have time freedom, and so I was able to go quite often and spend 3 or 4 hours with him when other people were at work. And because of my experience and kind of having to face my own mortality, we had some really frank conversations about death and about life choices. And I think I was like one of the only people that he could actually talk to about things that he regretted in his life, things he regretted doing and things he regretted that he didn't do, things he didn't say. And I was able to use a lot of Forgive with him as well, and help him to kind of process all of that and let it go and release it. I used a lot of frankincense with him to relieve his discomfort in between his pain injections. And I used a lot of a blend called Peace, which is very calming. You feel like you're in the middle of a beautiful, calm forest. And I used a lot of that just to help him to, deal with some of the fear and anxiety and release that as well. So, and then on the drive home, I had an hour drive each way. I would use a blend called Console in the car, and I would cry, and I would use the Console, and I would release my grief and my anger about what was happening. And I mean, that experience, I I mean, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. It was really hard, but it was an amazing experience for me. And I felt very honored and very, I felt like he had given me a gift to let me do that with him. And the oils were a huge part of moving through that with grace and making kind of the best of the situation.
That's a beautiful way to put that, and I couldn't agree with you more. So, we've covered quite a bit of things here this afternoon, and I'm so grateful for Colleen to be joining me in this discussion and helping to support this conversation, talking about wellness and essential oils. And, there's probably people that are thinking that they would like to have some more information and to have these oils be able to help and support their wellness. And I wanted to let you guys know that one of the ways that I enjoy helping people is I like to get together either in person or over a cup of tea or online on a video call I offer a free 20-minute wellness consult. And what that looks like is we go over any health issues that you might be having or any health goals that you have that you may want to, sort of get some support and help with. I then match them up with what would be the best choices for products to help you do what you're trying to achieve with regards to your health. There's no, when we do these, it's a conversation, very much like Colleen and I are having a conversation. There's no pressure. They're discovery calls, and it's totally up to you if you want to make a purchase. But honestly, aside from the cancer piece, some of the most common areas where people are looking for a natural solution are things like getting a better sleep, dealing with stress or chronic pain. And I find it so exciting that when someone makes even one small change in how they approach their wellness, that you'll notice that it's like a domino effect, and they seek out and find other ways to support their health. I mean, that's how it happened to me. And it's just, there's so much resources out there. I'm going to give all my contact stuff in a minute, but back over to you, Colleen. Is there any final thoughts or words that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think people they don't know where to start. That was my experience, and we make it easy, right? Have a conversation. As Sandra said, there's no pressure. We do this to help people. Have a quick conversation, share a few issues with us. We can give you a few recommendations and maybe a sample to try so that you can see that the oils work for yourself. But this is our thing. Like, come to us. Let us, educate you. That's what we love to do, and it's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So if you would be interested in booking an appointment to chat about oils, you can get in touch with me either by call, by text, by email, or on Facebook. So grab a pen. I'm going to give you all the information right now. So if you hop on over to Facebook, I am at Chronic Wellness Essentials. And that's where I share tips and recipes and DIYs and notifications of upcoming radio shows and all of the good stuff. So that's Chronic Wellness Essentials on Facebook. You can give me a phone call or send me a text at 250-797-6333. That's 250-797-6333. Or drop me a line and an email at chronicwellnesstips@gmail.com. So that's Chronic Wellness Tips, all one word, at gmail.com. I also do essential oil wellness workshops for large or small groups. So if you are looking to implement a wellness initiative in your workplace, we should have a chat, because I love talking about this stuff, and it's super, super important for all of us to take a look at our self-care and our wellness. Colleen, where can people find you?
Probably the easiest is my website, which is strongoils.ca. They can also find me on Facebook if they search Strong Oils Essential Oil Community. If they want to shoot me a text, my cell is 519-476-2779.
Perfect. Well, that is that's about it. We're wrapped up another hour of chronic wellness. Thank you so much again to Colleen Strong for joining me here today for this very important discussion. I hope that you found today's topic helpful, and if you missed any part of the show or would like to hear something again, you can always catch the replay on Facebook or YouTube next week. It has been my pleasure to spend this time with you. You've been listening to Chronic Wellness here on CHLY. My name is Sandra Sova. I will be back next week at this same time for another installment of Chronic Wellness Radio. In the meantime, take good care, everyone, and may we all be chronically well.